A couple weeks ago, Space Cat's Peace Turtles released an episode about points and tempo in Twilight Imperium. I think that's a great subject and really important for understanding the game. In fact, I made a tool in Tabletop Simulator to help keep track of each faction's points and scoring potential. In this video, you'll not only learn how to use the tool, but how to build it yourself if you're interested. But first, let's hear Hunter's description of this whole thing. It's priceless.
No.
You
What?
know that Kraken has a tempo counter now.
I
right?
think that's right. I think I'm remembering this. I want to play with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I want to play
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the thing of like, listen, here's the list of people I'm more willing to negotiate with because I can clearly see unimpeachably their tempo isn't the same as your tempo, as as person in the lead. So it's like the
Right.
second you are too high up on my tempo counter, that's it. Like I'm not working with you. You're the one in the lead or whatever. Like and having that public facing so that everyone else at the table can see the same thing I see and can offer counterpoints, whatever. But it's like, I don't care unless you're showing me your secrets. I don't care what you have to say. Like I see what your point
Yeah.
potential is. It is always public information what your point potential is.
Yeah, well, I hope you can hear me rolling my eyes, but I hope somebody else makes a tempo counter because not like I could read Kraken's at all. Not that it was legible at all to me. Someone that does this for a living. I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's all these complicated symbols on it.
Yeah,
There's like a
no.
million little dots on it. If you've seen it, I don't even remember which tournament game it was that was Kraken's, but Kraken, how do you do this?
I know.
I say you're going to do a pottery barn. You don't do that. Fair enough. Okay. I didn't really give you anything to go off of there. That's fine. But instead you come up with this other, it's like a contraption. I don't even know what it is.
It's literally
It
just a trap
supposedly
for
counts-
us. It had nothing to do with the game, Hunter. It was
I don't
just to
even
drive
think it
us
did.
crazy.
I think it was fake.
Yeah.
That's what I thought when I was commentating that game. Is I was like, I don't even think this is real. This is not even a real thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely a real thing. And here's how it works. Each colored stone in a column represents a scoring opportunity for some faction. As there are normally 10 points required to win a game of Twilight Imperium, there's 10 stones in each column. The symbols on the left-hand side represent the type of scoring opportunity that we're talking about. The sun icon indicates public objectives. There are 4 status phase opportunities to score public objectives before round 5. The moon icon indicates a secret objective, and there are normally 3 secret objectives available to each player, unless they get a relic or something. The crown is the support for the throne card. It's fairly easy to get a victory point by swapping a support for the throne with your neighbor. And then there are the 2 fleur-de-lis rows. These are the 2 additional points that you must score in order to win a game of Twilight Imperium. Of course, not all scoring opportunities are the same. It's much easier to score, for example, at the end of round 3 than it is at the end of round 1. You've just had more time to acquire resources and get in position and things like that. So that's where the color of the stones comes in. You'll notice some are green, some are yellow, some are red, and that's what you'd expect. Green is easily scored scoring opportunities. I consider the support for the throne swap fairly easy. The yellow opportunities are more difficult or more speculative, like scoring at the end of round 1, for example. Also, if you haven't drawn a secret objective yet, or rather you haven't drawn your second or third ones, those are also yellow, and they can turn green later on. You can just replace them with a green stone once you've drawn one. The red ones are the really difficult scoring opportunities. These are things that you're not really sure about. They could represent getting the Custodian's token, or an Imperial point, or getting an extra point from an agenda, or even a relic. Any of those type of things that are the sort of events that you're not necessarily expecting to have the opportunity to complete. So at this point, you might be thinking, hey, wait a minute, there are usually 5 rounds in a game of Twilight Imperium, and that's 5 status phase scoring opportunities. Well, in my opinion, if you get to round 5, you don't need a tool to track this anymore. You can just look around the table and see what people are about to score. When you really need this tool is in rounds 2 and 3. because at that point, it's not always obvious who's getting out ahead. You can easily get into a situation where you think, okay, I'm not winning at the end of round 4. I'll just hang out and see how things shake out in the round 4 agenda and status phases, and then I'll worry about wins lane. Well, it's often too late. If somebody gets to 10 at the end of round 4, it's over. You needed to act earlier. That's why I only have 4 on here. You need to know whether somebody is going to win in the status phase of round 4 or the action phase of round 5. Those are the people that are extremely difficult to stop. In the current version of Twilight Imperium that we're playing, Prophecy of Kings with 3 codexes, there are a lot of great win slate tools. You can go out and you can stop people from scoring, or you can take somebody's home system in round 5, and if it's clear that they're going to win, then everybody has a lot of incentive to use their powerful tools, and they have all round to do it. The people you have to watch out for are the ones that win before that. So let's talk about actually using this during a game. I would set it up during round 1. There's usually some downtime where you can get things out of a bag and start putting it together. But okay, let's say you get to the end of round 1 and you're playing as Sar. I like Sar. Let's be Sar over here. And let's say you score in round 1. So you would remove this stone in the first row. That represents scoring a public objective, and when you remove a stone, it changes from a potential scoring opportunity to a realized scoring opportunity. You have actually scored a point. And then you see who else scores. So let's say Jolnar scores, and Sol here, and the Mentak. Maybe they make it. Okay. Now these other 2 factions, they didn't score. So how do we represent that? Well, now that's a missed scoring opportunity. So instead of just a yellow one, they need a red one there. So let's real quick make one of those. We'll take one of these off here, we copy it, there we go, put that back, and we'll give Yssaril and Sardak some difficult scoring opportunities. So because they've missed scoring in round 1, they're behind tempo. They need to find some kind of other opportunity to score and catch up. So this is making it much harder for them to win before the status phase of round 5. Now let's say it's round 2. The Sol player picks the Imperial Strategy card. Right away, we need to give them 2 yellow stones to indicate additional scoring opportunities that are actually pretty good because they picked that card. They have the opportunity to score a point by being on Mechatol Rex and in control of it, and they have an opportunity to score an additional public objective. So we'll put a yellow one there. And these are temporary scoring opportunities. So they're actually sitting on top of the red stones underneath them. And we can remove these if they don't realize them. But let's say they do. Let's say Sol gets to Mechatol Rex. Maybe they kick off the person who got there first and snagged a custodian's point. And then they use Imperial not only to score an Imperial point, but to complete an additional public objective. All right, so now they've realized these 2 scoring opportunities. And now immediately, even before the end of round 2, we can see that Sol has no red stones on their path to 10. This indicates that things are relatively clear for them to win at the end of round 4, or certainly before the status phase in round 5. So why is this important? Well, let's add some detail to the example. Let's say that somehow Yssaril got to Mechatol and got the custodian's point. Well, that would mean that they had actually made up for missing scoring round 1. You would take off the redstone and show that they had scored. And now some players might think, because Yssaril has taken the custodian's point, we need to start worrying about them. But you can use this tool to illustrate to everyone at the table that no, Yssaril not a problem. They didn't score in round 1. They haven't found really any additional points at all. The problem is Sol. We need to be working against them. We need to be not making decisions that help them, giving them benefits in the agenda phase or good deals or things like that. And we should maybe even consider trying to do some kind of support swap triangle where 3 people exchange supports and cut Sol out of it. In any case, we need to start working now to prevent Sol from winning early, because if we do everything normal, if we support with them, if people take Imperial in the next couple of rounds, and Sol manages to draw 2 more secret objectives, they are on path to win. If you don't think that you can outrace them, you need to think about stopping them. Let's continue our example game and see how things can get a little bit complicated. Okay, let's say that at the status phase of round 2, almost everyone scores. The only person that doesn't score is the player playing Sol. So we'll move these stones off here to show that these factions have realized scoring opportunities. And the Federation of Sol now has missed a scoring opportunity, so we'll give them a red one here. And then in round 3, imagine Yssaril completes a relic and they draw a Shard of the Throne. Well, they can take off one of these red stones and realize a scoring opportunity. They've actually scored a point. That affects the game for everyone else, because everyone else now has an additional scoring opportunity. It looked like Sol was not on track to win at the end of round 4, but because they now have an opportunity to take the Yssaril home system, they actually have a scoring opportunity. Let's give them a green stone here, and we'll give the other factions green stones as well to represent the possibility of taking a shard point away from Yssaril. So let's see, there we go, there's a green one for them. And if the SAR player is support swapped with Yssaril, well, that makes things hard. So, well, let's say they swap with support for the thrones. We'll give them their points here. But now the SAR player doesn't actually have a scoring opportunity when it comes to taking the Shard of the Throne away from Yssaril. That won't give them anything. It would just move the red stone from here up here. So this is a good way of keeping track of where people actually are, and you can adjust this as the game goes on to show the likelihood of scoring opportunities for each faction. There's one other thing I'd like to point out about using this tool, and that's seating order. I like to put the faction on my left in the column just to the left of mine. So if I'm playing SAR and Yssaril's sitting on my left, then their column will be here. On my right, let's say, is Jolnar, and so they go in this column. And as you go around the table, each faction is less and less likely to get to pick a strategy card before you do in the strategy phase of round 5. So, for example, the Yssaril player will only get to pick a strategy card before SAR if they actually have the speaker token. And that's important because your strategy card, of course, determines your scoring order. So if all the factions look like they need to go to the status phase of round 5 in order to get to 10 points and win, then what you need to do is use their seating order as a tiebreaker. You want to be doing deals with Yssaril tribes and the Sardak player here. You can also work with the Universities of Jolnar and Sol, but you would want to do that if they were behind tempo. What you really don't want to do is make a lot of mutually beneficial deals with these factions over here on your right, because they're likely to end up beating you on initiative. Do be careful with this, though. Remember to reassess as you get towards the end of the game. If it looks like you are going to a status phase of round 5, you need to consider that each faction will have an additional scoring opportunity, and you need to look at whether the stage 2 is scoreable, things like that. Also be very careful if there's a Nalu in the game, if someone's playing the Nalu collective, because Nalu has the 0 token and they will get to score first. So in that situation, of course, seating order does not matter. They will get to score before you regardless of what strategy card they pick. I didn't really internalize that before the Weird Bear game this year, and I sort of thought that Nalu was less of a threat than they really were. Another thing you can do if you're going into round 5 and you see that somebody has the speaker token and the opportunity to pick Imperial, is you can actually give them their temporary Imperial scoring opportunities early, just to visualize what it will look like in the action phase of round 5. So let's say we've gotten to the end of round 4 and Sardak here is the speaker. We'll give them 2 additional scoring opportunities to show them taking Mechatol Rex and scoring a public objective for 1 point. So, or potentially even scoring the 2-pointer for 2 points. So that gives them a clear track to 10 in the action phase, and you can use this to throw heat on the Sardak player, even though it might have looked like they were behind because of their good speaker order and opportunity to take Imperial. It's time to start winslaying them now, so you have more than just the first round of round 5 before they flip Imperial and potentially win the game. Now that we've talked about how to use this tool, I'll show you real quick how to make it in Tabletop Simulator if you'd like to do that yourself. You can find all of these objects in the Objects menu, right here provided with the game. So for example, the base that I use as the track for the tokens, you can use these floor tiles. There they are. And you want to resize it a little bit, make it bigger to fit the tokens. The tokens themselves, the little stones here, they're from the Go set. You can pull out a white piece, and then you can change its color. There's a color tint option. There it is. And you can just make it red, you can make it green, you know, whatever you like to fit the players. And then let's see, what else do we need? These little pieces on the side. These are all available in this piece pack thing here. You've got your fleur-de-lis, you've got your crowns, sun, all this stuff is available right there. With a little resizing and a little color tinting, you can make them however you like. I picked these colors to make them fit the game as best I could. This is kind of the color of the public objectives and the secret. Oh, one other important thing is that the objects by default will snap to a particular place on the table. To make it stop doing that, you right click on it, go to the toggles menu and deselect grid. Once you've done that, you can move it about however you like. And once you have things laid out the way you like, you can save them. Just by highlighting the objects and right-clicking, there is a Save Object button. You can name it, whatever you like, something like tokens, and click Save. I won't do that because I've got them already created. And once you want to get them out of the bag, you go to Objects, Saved Objects, and you can grab your tiles like this. There you go. It's that easy. You can highlight them and move them around. Just remember to lock them when you're done. I'd like to credit Schroeder for the genesis of this idea. He was the first person I actually saw use a sort of point projection tool in a game. We played Invitational Game 5 together last year, and you can see his point projector tool that he drew on the board, kind of in the bottom left, on the left-hand side. I couldn't find a zoomed-in view of it, but the minute I scored the custodian's point and got a support swap deal in, he was calling me out. He was projecting me at a high score and winning, and he put a lot of heat on me, and I thought that was brilliant. So I credit him for thinking of this. A lot of the commentators in the tournament this year, I heard them using this idea of tempo and are you on track to win and scoring opportunities. And it wasn't really being visualized, and that's why I came up with this, but I want to credit Schroeder with the original idea. Finally, I'd like to thank all the players in Prelims Game 31 and Wecker and Quantum, the commentators, for letting me use this crazy thing and have a good time with it. These tournament games are my favorite virtual games, win or lose, and this year was awesome. I'll give the commentators the final word.
You see, Kraken's actually playing 5D Yu-Gi-Oh over here.
Yeah, I never let go
in the bottom left of his play area. And Every time someone else does an action, he can flip one of these tokens to reveal that he actually has pot agreed.
Fighters and infantry.
Which, you know, that just wins him the game, of course.
Actually, wait a minute. One more thing. This is a challenge to Hunter. I want you to make a better tabletop simulator pottery barn than this little thing right here.